name is Petro Diamant. I'm an awareness artist for near-threatened and endangered species, and today I'm speaking to a very special guest. I always have special guests, but today I'm speaking to a very special guest, Saihashna Rajkumar. She's an animal activist who is doing everything offline and online, and all her efforts to end animal cruelty and animal abuse and end the exploitation of animals. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to be speaking to you. I was wondering, what am I going to do? What's going to be like the last interview for I almost said 2012, right? It almost feels like it's 2012, but for 2020 going into 2021. And I think, animal advocacy is such an important topic for us, isn't it?
It is, very.
It is. So I want to get straight to the point. Tell me, what made you become an animal activist? What made you basically make that choice, make the movement, make a shift, and decide to become an activist?
Okay, so it's not even about loving animals, it's about justice, because I believe animals exist for their own purposes and we need to coexist with them. So I grew up with dogs. My family is a big dog lover, but I never liked them. I just never liked animals in general. But the change began in 2013 or 2014. Yeah, I was still in school, grade 10 or 11, and my mom adopted two really cute dogs that I instantly fell in love with, and they became my best friends. So as the year went by, so in South Africa we have people use fireworks for different reasons, be it New Year's, Diwali, parties, functions. So that same year when my mom adopted those dogs, like I mentioned, I loved them, and they really suffered. It was, I think, the beginning of October, people started letting off fireworks. It was approaching Diwali, Guy Fawkes and whatnot, and that really worried me. It saddened me, it worried me, and it made me realize I need to do more. I need to speak up about it. So I did more. Just dogs, but all animals, even the environment and whatnot. And I decided to be vocal about it. So I was really angry as well. So I started petitions. I started doing this thing on Facebook, and I realized it wasn't enough. I need to be more public about it. But I was scared because I didn't know the protesting laws in South Africa. And I always thought protesting was a bad thing. But later on, I realized, okay, it can be done in a more civil and legal way. So this was 2013, 2014. 2015 was the big change.
Yes, 2015 for me was also quite a powerful shift. So I think a lot of people shifted in 2015. Hey, it's a lot that changed. It's almost like we woke up.
A lot.
Yeah.
So I was in Matric, and I joined these two Facebook groups. One called Firework Banning Initiative, and then it was Hindus Against Fireworks. So I'm Hindu. I'm not like religious or whatnot, but I'm Hindu, and it's something I grew up with. And I joined the groups, but what I realized that a lot of the people in those groups were either vegan or vegetarian, and I wasn't. So it got me thinking what the hell, and what am I doing wrong? And it did trigger me as well, because obviously I was a hardcore meat lover, all my life. I was raised on vegan.
Yeah.
So then I added the admin of the Hindus Against Fireworks group, and it was actually a lady from Johannesburg, and she's vegan, obviously. So when I added her, she supports a lot of vegan things, which really triggered me. And this one day, she updated her cover photo, and she was holding a sign saying, "Animals are friends, not food," and she was standing outside the house. So that just got me thinking, wow. And I was very triggered. So I messaged her and I asked her, what is veganism, what it's about, how can I make the shift? And then that's when I just shifted. Yeah. So it was early 2016. I started off as a flexitarian, vegetarian, and then April I went vegan completely.
That's amazing. So that's amazing. So you went from not liking animals to falling in love with them. Yeah, to falling in love with these two beautiful animals, to basically step by step, going forward in your journey. Yeah. And ultimately that, I think the pivot was that image really that you saw. That's what I'm trying to get across to people, is that animals are not food, they're friends. Be a guardian, be a friend to not only to the wild, but also to all animals, right? I am afraid of most of them, but yes, we try and be friends.
Yeah, me too.
Gosh, okay, I didn't know that. I thought you just loved animals. I mean, I've just always loved animals, you know.
No, actually, I knew I was eating animals, right? Because I was raised in a Hindu household. So in Hinduism, it's basically it's ahimsa. So I was taught from a young age, well, we're not is eating like random things. We eating actual animals, but
Yeah.
it never affected me in any way because my family too wasn't vegan. So it never really got to me until I actually had an companion animal, and that's where that changed me
Yeah.
completely.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That really is amazing. So, you know, you've recently joined us with Beauty Without Cruelty, South Africa. Beauty Without Cruelty is an animal rights organization defending animal rights, and they have over, gosh, you know, Tony's gonna like, why don't you know how many brands we have? We have over, I think, 125 brands, or isn't it more than that? With I mean over 1,000 products that people can basically use that's cruelty free and that hasn't been tested on animals. So I think it's so important that we actually make that shift and make that choice and start supporting brands and organizations who really are cruelty free. And you have now come on board as a representative for one of us. So tell me about other organizations that you've advocated on behalf of.
So the other organization was Ban Animal Trading. In fact, that's when my journey started in 2016. I joined them as a volunteer and organizer, and I did quite a number of protests with like on behalf of them.
Yeah, you've been very
So
active. Like I've actually gone through all your photos.
well,
So
I
that's
try to be as active as possible.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so that's
important.
where it started.
And when you first started, I mean, was it a little bit when you first kind of like went to the streets with this, right? You know, with the banner and that. I mean, what does that feel like? You know, for me, it feels like you go and you just do it. And you just
Yeah.
have that
I
message,
mean, I
you
was
know?
nervous, but
Yeah. Have you ever been met with adversity? Have you ever been met with people that are rude or unkind to you or feel like, you know, like,
yeah, many times, many
yeah, it
times.
happens. Hey, I know that for
Yeah.
one of the banned animal trading protests. It was at a hunting convention, and they were outside, and some of them actually got threatened. You know, that was quite interesting to see the video, just the aggression from the other part. You know, so on the one hand, you have us activists who really love and care for animals, and we just want to make the world a safer place, right? And then on the other part, you have, you know, the hunting and the killing and the violence. And how do we merge these two worlds? I mean, if you have the answer to that, I would love to hear that.
Actually, I believe anger, aggression, fighting doesn't help. I used to be this person that used to fight and argue, and then I realized, you know what? Like I'm an awoke person. I'm conscious, and I need to like look at the other perspective because not everyone was raised to like see
Yes.
things the way we do. And I mean, I wasn't as well, so I was
Yes.
very ignorant. So I tried to give them a chance to talk, and I heard their side of things, and I really try to help them understand. You know, it's not the easiest of things because some
Yeah.
people are very staunch about their beliefs and cultural backgrounds and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that
I,
yeah, and that brings me, and you look so beautiful today. You look like an angel. You have lights coming from behind. It really is beautiful. It's so complimentary. So
thanks so much.
that brings me to our next question, right? Because I was raised in a very Afrikaans home. My dad had an abattoir. I don't know if you knew this. So my dad had an abattoir. He had a butchery. You know, he was in the hunting community. We had farms. You know, it was the meat transport industry. So I got to see what all of that looks like from a very young age. You know, I was kind of like immersed in that, and I remember I was 6 or 7 years old, right, where that first realization basically came to me of what's on the table and what's in the oven. You know, and when that hit me, my mom said to me, she said, for 2 weeks she didn't eat. So for 2 weeks I refused
Wow.
to eat anything, you know. And then from there on, you know, like, you know, you kind of, you know, you're in this family that eats meat. I mean, meat in the afternoons, meat, you know, in the evenings. So like proper. So yeah, tell me about your cultural background. I mean, like, tell me, because I mean that obviously influences, you know, our decisions as well going forward in how we
Yeah.
relate to family and friends and people from our own cultures, you know, from our own sort of like ethnic groups. And yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah. So I was raised in a traditional Indian Hindu household, and so I'm sure with more research you'll find that Hinduism is about ahimsa, which is causing the least harm, etc. But like obviously my family never really like cared about the ahimsa part. I come from a very meaty family, meat is everywhere. And I mean, my parents were shocked when I decided to just give it up, just go
Yeah.
fully vegan. But what I'm grateful for is that they have changed as well. They're not vegan or like fully vegan or whatever, but they're actually plant-based and they're aiming towards, that fully vegan lifestyle. I mean, you can't be perfect now. You can't be like 100% perfect vegan in this world.
Yeah.
But culture-wise, yeah, it was in my family's culture to, braais, barbecues,
Yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah, and also
But
being in
but
South
like what I'm
Africa.
grateful for.
Yeah, also being in South
Yeah,
Africa,
yeah,
right? I mean, it's very
yeah,
much
no,
marketed.
definitely the braais.
Yeah, it's very much
Yeah,
marketed to people to be like that and live like that, I mean, it's a massive industry,
definitely.
and I always just think like, how are we gonna end this? And I want to use one of your quotes. I got up one day, I was speaking at a women's event, and I got up one day and I was so nervous, I didn't know what to say. And somebody before me was talking, and she was talking about her handbag range and how she was transitioning from, the sort of like using leather over to plant-based materials. And it was such a beautiful entry and cue for me. And I got up and I said, that humanity's evolution and humanity's liberation goes hand in hand with animal liberation and the liberation of Earth. And you guys can
Yeah,
quote me on that, because it's such a powerful, beautiful quote and realization that I had. And it really is true, whether we look at ourselves or whether we look at animals or whether we look at the planet, the water, the air that we breathe, our actions impact, not only
it
ourselves, but
really
also everything around us, right? And that brings me to my next question with you. So, how do we, why is it so important for people, to start making different choices and different decisions, especially if we take into account, the environment and everybody that we share this planet with? Like, what's your perspective on that? Like, why do you think in 2021 it's so after 2020, right, with COVID? Why is it so important for people to consider going plant-based? And
I mean, I think for obvious reasons. Yeah, for obvious reasons. I mean, we look at the pandemic, it started at a wet market, which has a lot of animal products. So no one's saying like just go vegan or just go plant-based. It won't happen overnight, but if you can
yes,
start with plant-based lifestyle and then transition as time goes by, you go to your animal testing, use cruelty-free products, don't attend circuses and all those events that use animals. So you
yes.
want, I mean, I know people are not going to change overnight, but
But you could.
I think it's very important.
You
Yeah,
could also, because it is a choice. And
it's
I'm
a
very
choice.
strict like that with myself, like I make a choice and I stick to it. And if it's challenging, I'm honest about it, but you could change overnight. You could. It
Yeah.
is possible, I believe.
But
Yes.
yeah, I think we could prevent future pandemics if the world went plant-based. I mean, you look at all the past pandemics, they
Yeah,
started with some type of animal. So yeah, it's extremely important.
it
I
is.
mean,
It
I
does.
want a plant.
Yes, it is. And you wrote a beautiful article in response to one of the newspapers. I don't have it open now on my phone, but you wrote a response. I think it was plastics for our oceans or plastic in our oceans. Please tell me a little bit about that, because people think that if we don't use straws, if we don't use plastic, then that's basically going to save our oceans. But please give me your perspective on it.
So this article was about how our oceans are getting destroyed and even the sea life, well, yeah, sea life
Yeah.
and fish and stuff like that. So the article was about reducing plastic, which I fully agree with. I try as well to like cut off plastic completely. But the thing is, it's about sustainability because it's one thing to stop using plastic straws and all of that, but people want to save the oceans, but they're killing what's inside of it, like
Yeah,
the sea
exactly.
life. They're eating the sea life, like fish and all prawns, sardines, all of the stuff. So there's
Yeah.
no point in keeping the beaches clean if you're gonna eventually kill what's inside. So my response was along those lines, like it's great to go plastic free, but we need to preserve the marine life because
Yeah.
even that too is going extinct. So yeah,
Yeah, and you also had a lot of facts in your article that you submitted to the newspaper. It was very factual, you know. I mean, you went and you did the research and you basically presented that to them, and I'm surprised that they actually published it like that. So it's very good on them, and thank you to the reporter and the journalist who basically took your article and published it. I'm very proud of you for that. I think it's so important that we actually speak up out on that, you know. And I always say to people, even if it wasn't for the work that I did, even if it wasn't for my love for, you know, species, the diverse species that we have on this planet and the planet itself, I wouldn't eat fish purely because of all the poison and the toxins that are going into the ocean, you know?
Yeah.
And I think if you understand that, if you understand the amount of waste, you know, from medical waste to nuclear waste to the oil spills to, I mean, sewage waste, everything that goes into the ocean, that these poor animals and you know, that whole biosphere, that whole biosystem under there has to kind of like, I don't know how, I mean, how is that going to look in 5, 10, you know, 20 years from now? People don't change their ways, you know. So purely from that perspective,
I believe part of saving the ocean is to preserve what's inside too. It's not just about keeping it clean. So that's kind of why I sent a response to this article about plastics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to post that article on my website. I hope you don't mind. I really want to
I don't mind.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do a little write-up about you, because I think, you know, and I said this to you last night, you've got such an amazing light in you, and I think your future looks very bright going forward, and we're all very lucky to have you on this planet, you know. So I'm very excited. Tell me about your future plans. I mean, you have this amazing light in you, and when you post, you know, there's a lot of comments, and one comment, seeing that we are going into New Year's, a very sexy post that you made, is, you know, why we find vegan men so attractive, right? Why do we find vegan men so attractive? And for me, it's that compassion and that kindness, you know.
Definitely.
In a world,
yeah,
and in a world, especially in South Africa, where especially eating meat, you know, is marketed and promoted as a manly thing to do, as a masculine thing to do, as something that men have to do. You know, you have to braai.
Yeah.
You know, and people create bonds over this, you know, because it's social. We eat the food we eat, and there's this whole braai culture in South Africa, which, my gosh, you know, I see that it's very challenging, and guys, you know, I've seen this firsthand now. It's very, very challenging for people to get out of that mindset and out of that kind of set belief of, you know, this is how I bond with my family, and this is how I bond with my dad, and this is how I bond with my mother. You know, it's something completely different. Like, once you wake up and you look at an animal to really see that individual and that person, you will never ever touch and kill and condone or contribute to the violence and the killing and the suffering and the exploitation of these animals. Never again will you do that. And that's why I'm saying it is a choice. And once you get it, it changes your life for the better. Yeah. Before I forget, because there's a couple of other questions that I also want to ask you, but I want to thank Share Villa Accommodation in Cape Town for allowing us to use their space to have this wonderful interview. Share Villa Accommodation in Cape Town offers upmarket, fully furnished, fully serviced accommodation to single professionals. So if you do find yourself in Cape Town, please give them a shout, or give myself a shout, and I'll give you all the information. So tell me about your plans. Okay, your life plans. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we all have a mission, right? Like, my mission is the planet and the earth advocacy, and creating that through beautiful art, and, you know, basically inspiring people through everything that I write in that. But I really do believe that the magic lies in changing the law and litigating for animals.
Okay.
That's kind of like where I want to head into. But tell me your dream, your mission, your plan for your life going forward, and how that kind of like comes together.
Okay, so yeah, my mission is more or less the same. It's more or less the same. Animal advocacy, the planet. I'm also an IT professional. I recently graduated, so I want to. I mean, I love technology. I love learning new stuff. I love machine learning. So I actually want to use my skills to uplift humanity in general. Whether it's creating technology that will better lives, empower people and communities. Yeah, that's basically what I want to use with do with my career skills, I would say. I also want to give back to the community, to both humans and animals. I want to uplift animal shelters, orphanages, abuse victims, almost every problem in the world, I want to tackle it. So,
it's such a, I just want to, like, you just reach to the screen. That's so beautiful, because here's the thing, and I said this to somebody the other day, like when I started Earth Alive 365, I wanted, I'm going to inspire people. I'm going to be inspired. I'm going to take on this world. I'm going to, everything is going to be safer. And I ended up hating people. I ended up being, I ended up hating. More and more I investigated, what was going on, and the more and more I found out what was going on, and it's an ongoing process. The more and more I got bitter. I didn't want to have anything to do with people. I don't want to work with people, and you can't. We have to work with people, because in the end of the day, humanity is at fault here, and we are completely out of control with what we're doing and how we're acting, and our impact on this planet is devastating.
It is big time.
I mean, it is. It's astonishing, the nonsense that we get up to. Like, once you actually sit down and you look at what people do, and also, you take that into, what am I doing and what have I done? And where did I hurt someone, or, and when I mean someone, I mean an animal. And where did I take something that wasn't, that was supposed to be, I mean, our actions, guys, for 2021, and I call it the 2021 goals, we really have to do better. We really have to take ourselves accountable and put ourselves on that little platform and have under a microscope, and look at our choices, our actions, our decisions, which is our choices, and basically how that impacts, not only our fellow human beings, but our fellow earthlings and this planet, right?
Yes, definitely.
So what else can we do? I mean, tell me something else. Tell me about your best advocacy date versus your worst advocacy date, like your best experience versus the worst experience.
I mean, I've had my best. I mean, I've always had good and bad in every thing, but I'll speak about the bad one. Yeah. So I joined Anonymous for the Voiceless, which is an animal rights organization. They basically focus on vegan outreach. So I've had quite a bit of bad days there, because basically what we do is we hold footage of factory farming and animal agriculture, and okay, we don't approach people. If they approach us, we speak to them. But we've had a lot of people who were triggered, and they wanted to fight with us and all of that. So whenever we do this, it can be really nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But in terms of best dates, I've also had good days where people were open to listen and hear about veganism and reducing animal cruelty and stuff like that. So it's like a 50-50 thing, every experience. I can't really pick out like a good day or a bad day. So
I had somebody tell me the other day that veganism is just a fashion. It's just a trend at the moment. What would you say to that? Okay, well, maybe you're not the right person, because I know that she's very unapologetically herself online. Like, she's not gonna twist words around and tell you something that that you want to hear. She's gonna tell you exactly something straight from her heart and straight from her mind, and also something that's very factual. So just give me your 2 cents on that.
I wouldn't say it's a fashion. I would say it's a growing social movement. I mean, to know that we started off with nothing. When I first went vegan, there was like nothing. I didn't know anything about it. But as time went by, it grew. So I wouldn't call it a fashion. I'll call it a social justice movement. Yes. It depends how you see it. So, yeah, I wouldn't really. I wouldn't say fashion.
Yeah. It was interesting, that this individual would say that to me. I was also told that I need to be educated in the fine arts of hunting. So what would you say to that?
I mean, hunting is murder. Directly, it's murder. It's murder of innocent animals. I don't believe in your main treatment or anything of that sort. Like, as long as the animal is dying, it's murder. So I'll say it straight out, it's complete murder. There's no ifs or buts or other side of the argument, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people argue with me, and I mean, I was very verbal about it. I was very aggressive about it. And lately I'm kind of sort of more just calm. And more sort of gathered when I'm in the presence of somebody, you know, that wants to basically argue with me and wants to fight with me on that. It took some time to get here, you know, but you know, it takes us back to our cultural upbringing and what we were taught, you know, and how we live our lives. It's a lifestyle, you know, it's a lifestyle choice, and it's also a conscious choice in the end of the day. And I think I've just seen too much, you know, and for me, killing is killing, murder is murder, an individual is an individual, a body is a body, a soul is a soul, you know. We all bleed the same, we all hurt the same. Oh my goodness, that's my battery almost going. It's not plugged in. Anyway, so let me just quickly finish here with you. So sorry about that. So if you can give me, I mean, what would your greatest wish be for 2020? What's your greatest wish for 2020?
To end this pandemic ASAP, because that's really holding the world back for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I really, really want people to open their hearts and minds to what goes on behind their food, clothing, etc. Like if I could change the world now, I would create vegan humans completely.
Yeah. I'm going to have another interview with you again really soon, and we're going to talk about about the fact that, you know, I mean, you asked me about that, the sort of like antenatal, idea of, you know, like people should stop having children, right? People should stop having children. I mean, you wanted to talk about that, and I thought maybe not for this. So give me your
controversial topic.
Yeah. So that was, I actually wanted to say 2021, but I think the both of us would like for people to, you know, going into 2021 is to become more clear, more purposeful in your actions, more conscious in your actions, more awake in your actions, and really start living and creating a beautiful world where we are taking everybody into account, all beings, all creatures, great and small, you know, and where we live a kind, you know, sort of like a kind life in compassion towards everybody. So do you want to give a blessing? Do you want to say something before my computer runs out of battery? So I think you have like 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. I just want to say to whoever's watching this, like, please research factory farming, research animal agriculture, open your hearts and minds to the suffering that's going on around the world, not only to animals, but humans as well.
Yeah.
And
yes,
that's
so
all I ask for everybody.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I'm very excited about your future. I said that to you last night as well. And, you know, the fact that you're going into IT, that you have your degree and you want to use that basically platform. I mean, it's such a perfect platform, you know, to develop anything really, you know, to safeguard and protect, you know, people, and also to raise awareness offline, online. I mean, it's just such an incredible tool. I want to thank you so much for coming online today with me. I'm going to speak to you soon. I'm going to have another interview with you soon. And guys, you know, your 2021 can be so much more than what you currently have experienced. I know for myself, you know, going plant-based, and I use the word plant-based, you know, because there's a lot of like sort of aggression towards the word vegan, okay, not only for your health, but also for the health of the planet and other people. And by other people, I mean the animals, right? So it really is a magical, beautiful, wonderful world for us to be able to show up in kindness, show up in compassion, and to truly look at animals as friends, okay? And to truly be the guardians over them, you know, and not kill them and harm them and hurt them and exploit them. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to be speaking to you again real soon. I hope you had a wonderful season, and I wish you all the best for 2021. And
so much.
Yes, and I'm so excited that you're part of Beauty Without Cruelty South Africa, which is an animal rights organization defending animal rights. So for anybody who has questions about Beauty Without Cruelty, or even who wants to connect with Saihashna, please reach out to us, ask us questions, ask us for recipes, okay? This is the bunny chow girl, all right? So I really want to eat your cooking, I do. So I'm going to say goodbye today, and I'm going to wish you all a kind, wonderful, beautiful life, full of compassion, full of kindness, full of love for this planet and for the animals. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Okay, let me just
You
see
too.
where I end this. Okay, end beautiful. Bye-bye, everybody.